Yeah. Okay, I think you can start presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Rajeshri Khan. আজকে আমাদের গ্রুপ বুড়িদানের গাধাগুলি will give a presentation on the four quadrant LM model. The presentation today made by Buridaner Gadhaguli is on the four quadrant diagram and the derivation of the LM curve. We have taken two different cases here. One of the classical case where the speculative demand curve for money is vertical, and the other is the Keynesian case where the speculative demand curve for money is a horizontal line. We have shown the implications of this in the LM curve through a four quadrant diagram. The next slide will be presented by Autry.
Okay, yeah. So since O3 is not here, so I will just give an introduction to this slide. So first we are met with this question that what is speculative demand for money? So in simple terms, speculative demand for money is the money kept aside by investors for speculative investments or investments of offer investment in the money market on the basis of speculations in the interest rate. So the speculative demand for money is shown by LR. R means the interest rate. So LR is a decreasing function of R. So when the interest rate rises, then the bond prices fall, and then the speculative demand for money is low. And when the interest rate falls, then the speculative demand for money is higher. So it is shown in the second quadrant of our four quadrant LM curve, and its implication has been shown in the LM curve through the four quadrant curve we have. Thank you.
Speculative demand for money in classical approach. Now we are considering the case where the speculative demand of money is insensitive to the rate of interest. This means that the speculative demand doesn't change for any change in the rate of interest. M2 is equal to L of R is equal to C, where C is greater or equal to 0. Change in wealth occurs only due to change in transaction demand. Later we will see that for this type of speculative demand in the LM graph, we get only one equilibrium level of income. Thank you.
Speculative demand for money tension approach. If the rate of interest is minimum and people expect it to rise in future, anticipating capital loss from bond holding, people convert their bonds into money in order to avoid future capital loss. They hold up money balance thinking that income from nominatory assets like bond will be low and so that cost of money holding will also be low. Thus, speculative demand for money becomes very high, so much so that when the rate of interest declines to minimum, speculative demand for money becomes infinite, perfect elastic. This pushes the economy into liquidity trap. লিকুইডিটি ট্র্যাপ বলতে এমন একটা অবস্থা বোঝানো হচ্ছে যেখানে রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্টটা কমছে, তার ফলে ম্যাক্সিমাম পিপল চাইবে ক্যাশটাকে হোল্ড করতে, and the speculative demand curve becomes flat as shown in the above figure. Next.
আমরা এই কেসে ক্লাসিক্যাল কেসে আমরা যেটা দেখতে পারি সেটা হচ্ছে হলো দ্যাট দ্য স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড কার্ভ ইজ আ ভার্টিক্যাল লাইন, মানে কি ফর এনি রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট দ্য স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড ডাজ নট চেঞ্জ। তো আমরা এই স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড কার্ভ থেকে তিনখানা পয়েন্ট নিয়ে ওটাকে উই আর ট্রেসিং টু দি থার্ড কোয়াড্রেন্টে কি আছে আমাদের আছে হলো M1 দ্যাট ইজ ট্রানজাকশন ডিমান্ড প্লাস M2 that is speculative demand equals to the total money supply or the total money demand, ওইটা আর কি আমরা এঁকেছি এবং ওইখান আমরা ট্রেস করেছি তিনটে পয়েন্টগুলোকে। এবার দ্যাট ইজ again connected to the right word quadrant, that is the fourth quadrant. সেখানে we have drawn the relation between income and transaction demand that depends on a value k. এবার on expanding that to the first quadrant, we get the and connecting them with the corresponding interest rates, we get the LM curve. of the market, যেখানে আমরা দেখতে পাই যে in this case there is only equilibrium for a single value of income, and LM curve যে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে speculative demand does not change for any change in rate of interest. This is the classical case.
Now the Keynesian case. So economy, the speculative demand changes drastically for any change in the rate of interest. তো এখানে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে the speculative demand curve that is in the second quadrant, এটা একটা পুরোপুরি horizontal line. তো মানে এইটাকে ওই liquidity trap-এর সিচুয়েশনটাও বলা যায়, যেটা নিয়ে অর্পিতাও আগে বললো, যখন অনেক একদম মিনিমাম পয়েন্টে পড়ে যায় রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট, তারপরে কেউ মানে ভাবে না যে এরপরে রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট পড়তে পারে। তো পিপল উইল এক্সপেক্ট দ্য রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট টু রাইজ ইন দ্য ফিউচার, অ্যান্ড দে উইল অলসো that bond prices will fall in the future. তো তার মানে ওদের ফিউচারে ক্যাপিটাল লস হবে, তাই ওদের এখনের জন্য ওরা ওদের স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড ফর মানিটাকে বাড়াতেই থাকে, আর এনি চেঞ্জ ইন দ্য রেট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট একটু হলেও পুরো স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড ফর মানিতে এক্সস্ট করে যাবে। তো আমরা যখন সেকেন্ড কোয়াড্রেন্ট থেকে আমাদের ডটেড লাইনটা থার্ড কোয়াড্রেন্ট জানি, যেখানে আমাদের স্পেকুলেটিভ ডিমান্ড ফর মানি আর ট্রানজাকশন ডিমান্ডকে ইকুয়াল ভাবে প্লট করা হয়েছে 45 ডিগ্রি third quadrant. Transaction demand money is shown like an increasing function of income. তারপরে যখন আমরা LM কার্ভে যাই, তো আমরা দেখতে পারি যে LM কার্ভটাও একটা পারফেক্টলি হরিজন্টাল লাইন হচ্ছে। তো এই কেসটাকে বলা হয় কেনশিয়ান কেস, আর এটাও লিকুইডিটি ট্র্যাপের পয়েন্টটাও বলা যেতে পারে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Okay, thank you very much.
So can I stop presenting?
Yes, does anyone have any question? Okay. So, animal psychologists have shown that donkeys who are known for their stupidity are actually quite clever. And I think your batch has shown yourself that the animal psychologists are right. So, thank you very much. It's a very nice presentation and very concise also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So in the last class, we had, I think, looked at the impact of a change in money supply. Specifically, we had looked at the money supply had increased. So,
Sir, sorry to disturb. স্যার আমি কি ক্লাসটা লিভ করতে পারি? স্যার কালকে আমি ভ্যাকসিন নিয়েছি, আজকে আমার জ্বর আছে আর গায়ে হাত পায়ে ব্যথা আছে
ঠিক
একটু।
আছে, কি নিয়েছিলে তুমি?
তো আমি পরে নেব। আমি নিলাম কোভিশিল্ড নিয়েছি।
ঠিক আছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
Okay. Actually, the problem is that whenever you are taking vaccines, most of you are having more serious side effects. I mean, not really serious, but anyway, I mean, some of you are having temperature for 4-5 days and so on. Just one sec, please. Okay. Okay. So anyway, do take care of yourself. Okay. So we have seen that if the money supply is increased, this will lead to excess, let's say, excess demand in the money market, and the rate of interest will decline. If the rate of interest declines, this will stimulate investment and income will also increase. So we have a decline in rate of interest. We also have an increase in Y. Okay. Now, when Y starts to increase, then transaction demand also increases. So that means you're going to have again excess demand in the money market. Okay. So what we see is that the entire decrease in rate of interest, just one sec, excess demand. Okay. So we see that the initial decline in rate of interest is this much, but because of the commodity market effect, the rate of interest is the decline in the rate of interest is somewhat moderated. Initially, it may fall up till this, but the ultimate fall is only from here to here. Uh, Similarly, in the case of fiscal policy also, we will see that the initial increase in income is quite high, but there's a money market second round impact which reduces the expansion in income. Then we looked at two effects, two special cases in the ISLM model. One was the Keynesian case or liquidity trap, and we showed that the money market, a change in the money supply does not have any impact on um, rate of interest or income. The equilibrium remains same. On the other hand, if we look at the Keynesian case, then wait a minute, did I discuss the Keynesian case? No, I did not discuss the Keynesian case, but again, you can see that the money, uh, you will see that the impact on, in that case, is the impact on income is much higher if we are on the classical portion of the LM curve. I'll quickly show this. So this is the IS curve. And this is the LM curve. So this is the increase in income. And you will see that if you compare this with the ordinary case, with a normal case, let's see this, it is passing through this. This is the new LM curve. So the increase in income, sorry. See, there are two effects. The initial first round effect is income increases by this amount. But there's a second round impact through a decline in investment, a change in the investment, so that the final change in income is only this much. Okay. But here we can see that for a similar change in money supply, we have the full effect. There's no second round effect. The first round effect is there. This persists in the ultimately. So the money policy is more effective if we are on the so-called classical regime. So here it is most effective. Here also it's quite effective, but as you can see, the effectiveness has declined. And finally, if you look at the classical, Keynesian region, then the impact on income is nil. It does not have any change in income. Okay. Now we come to the the change in, we now look at a fiscal policy. So there's a change in government. Achha, by the way, did I cover the four quadrant diagram? I don't think I looked at it, right? So let me just show it using a four quadrant diagram. See, when you're using the four quadrant diagram, then just this part will always be the ISLM model. Okay. Now these three quadrants you can either take for the commodity market or for the money market. So you have to see um, that you are introducing a parametric change. Which market does it affect? Does it affect the commodity market or does it affect the money market? If there's a change in money supply, the commodity market is affected. So in that case, you will keep the money market in these three quadrants. On the other hand, when we come to fiscal policy, these three markets will be the IS market, the commodity market. Okay. So this is your stock of wealth. This is KY. Let's draw a straight line LM curve to make it easier. And this is the IS curve. This is RY. This is the liquidity demand. And this is the,
Sir, why is that the IS curve?
I didn't see the, oh, this one.
Yes, sir.
I've drawn the IS curve. See, this part will be the ISLM model. Okay. So you'll have the IS curve and LM curve. I've not drawn the LM curve so far. The LM
Okay.
curve will have to be derived from here. That's why. Okay. So the LM curve, this will be the LM curve, the initial LM curve. Okay. Now, if the money supply increases, you have more wealth. Uh-huh. Okay. So for the same rate of interest, if we just draw the curve, this will become L to M2. Okay, I'm satisfied.
Yes.
Okay. So the equilibrium is initially this is the equilibrium, and in the second round so the second round, this is the equilibrium. So this is R1, this is R2, this is Y1, this is Y2, E1, E2. Okay. So when you're using the four quadrant diagram, just keep in mind two things. This part is always the ISLM curve. This part, these three quadrants, you will have to use the market which where the change occurs. So if it is money supply, this has to be the LM market. And if it is fiscal policy, these three will have to be the commodity market. So is it clear? So you can show the effect on the ISLM market, money market and commodity market using this diagram. But always remember that you should be able to explain the mechanism. So just if you draw this, you will get only some marks. You also have to explain why the rate of interest is declining, why income is going up. And second is you also have to explain go to the two special sections. So the liquidity preference, sorry, the liquidity trap and the money market, the classical and the Keynesian portions. That also
Sir,
you
can
have to
you show the
explain.
previous slide once?
Yeah. So when you are discussing the Keynesian or classical portion, you need not draw this. I mean, if you do this, use this four quadrant diagram, it's fine. But you can simply draw the LM curve appropriately, that is vertical or horizontal, and show that monetary policy is fully effective or whatever. হ্যাঁ একটা ধরে নি আমি sorry I've got a Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm coming back. So, is there any problem with the earlier diagram? Okay. So now I'm going to consider the impact of a change in government spending. So we have drawn, I'll start with a 4-quadrant diagram. And the first thing that you should ask is which market is going to be affected. Okay. So Orpita Chanak, can you tell me which market will be affected?
আরেকবার বলবেন?
কোন মার্কেটটা affected হবে? আইস কার্ভ না এলএম কার্ভ? মানি মার্কেট না কমোডিটি মার্কেট?
এই জায়গাটা
কি?
মানি মার্কেট।
গভর্নমেন্ট স্পেন্ডিং হলে মানি মার্কেট এফেক্ট হবে?
আমি বুঝতে পারছি না, আরেকবার বলুন না স্যার।
তোমার যদি গভর্নমেন্ট পলিসি চেঞ্জ করে তাহলে কোন মার্কেট এফেক্টেড হবে? মানি মার্কেট না
যদি
কমোডিটি মার্কেট?
তাহলে কমোডিটি মার্কেট হবে, গভর্নমেন্ট যদি পলিসি যদি।
হ্যাঁ, তুমি ইকুয়েশনটা দেখবে কোন প্যারামিটারটা চেঞ্জ করছে। জি চেঞ্জ করছে, জিটা কোথায় আছে? কমোডিটি মার্কেট আইস কার্ভে ইকুয়েশনে আছে। সো ইফ দ্য commodity market is affected, you can just draw the LM curve because that is not going to change. So, Ayan, do you understand why we drew the IS curve before? Since
Yes.
that is not going to be affected by money supply, we just drew the IS curve. Achha. Now, over here, this is G and this is the investment plus IR plus G curve. Okay, so this is the S plus T and this is the 45-degree line. Okay, so I'm just shaping. In fact, what you can do is, it is good if you এটা কম complicated হবে। Okay, so this is the IS curve and it will be less complicated if you just draw the LM curve passing through this point. Okay, so R, this is Y, this is I1 S1, this is LM and this will be E1, এটা পরে দিচ্ছি। This is R1, this is ঠিক আছে। So this is the 45-degree line, which means that I plus G is equal to, sorry, this will be S plus T. Okay. Achha. Now, let us suppose that G goes up. Okay. So that means G1 to G2. So the I plus G curve will also change. And the IS curve will now shift like this. So this is I2, this is S2. Okay, this is Y1, this is Y2, G2. সরি এইটা y2 হবে না আমার ভুল হয়েছে okay so the new equilibrium is this. So R2, this is E2, this is E1, this is Y2. Okay. Now let's go into the mechanism. So right away we can see that government spending will lead to rate of interest rising and income also increasing. So both R and Y will increase. Okay, now let's look into the mechanism. So initially we are at E1. So the IS and LM curve is intersecting. We have equilibrium in both money and commodity markets. Then we have an increase in G, which means the total investment I plus G will increase for the same rate of interest. So if there's an increase in G, what happens? E, which is aggregate demand, will rise. So we have excess demand in the commodity market. Okay. So if there's excess demand in the commodity market, this will stimulate an increase in production. That is, Y will increase. What is the increase in Y? The increase in Y is this much. Let us say E1 to E prime 2. So del Y is E prime 2 minus E1. Okay, we call this Y prime 2. Okay. So this happens in the money market, commodity market. In the money market, what happens if Y increases? The transactions demand will rise and we will have excess demand for money. if there's excess demand for money, people will pull away bonds, pull away wealth from bonds to money. So the price of bonds will fall and the rate of interest will rise. So ultimately, you're going to, so there'll be, if the rate of interest rises, uh, speculative demand will increase. And so, but more or less what happens is there will be an increase in equilibrium in the money market. Okay. Now, when the rate of interest increases, private investment will decrease. So del Y will fall. So from E prime 2, you will come back to E2. So Y will fall from E prime 2 to E2. Okay, investment decrease means there's a reverse multiplier effect. Instead of the positive multiplier, demand stimulating output, now contraction in demand reduces output. So we can see that Y increases, but the multiplier is less than in the Keynesian case, in the simple Keynesian model. Okay, in the simple Keynesian model, where we only had the commodity market, income would have increased from E1 to E prime 2. But here, the final increase in demand, sorry, the final increase in income is from E1 to E2. Okay, so there's a commodity market effect, but the second round effect, which operates through the money market, that reduces or that restrains or constrains the increase in output. So the increase in output is less than what had occurred in the simple Keynesian model. So is there any questions? Do I have to repeat any part or the entire part?
So could you explain the money market part once more?
See, when your money market is MS is equal to uh, KY plus LR. This is the transactions demand, speculative demand. So what will happen if Y increases? In the commodity market, income had increased from E1 to E prime 2.
Yes, sir.
The transactions demand will increase.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you got it. Or do I have to?
No, sir. I got the transaction demand has to increase. Yes, sir. I understood that.
Okay, transactions demand went up. So that means you now have excess demand in the money market.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what will be your reaction? You will pull away, you'll sell your bonds and try to keep more of money. You'll try to hold your wealth in the form of money. So if you sell up bonds, bond prices is going to fall, rate of interest will increase. That's what I've written over here. Okay. So ultimately, LR will go up, speculative demand will come down, and you are going to have equilibrium in the money market. Right? Right? So the money market part finishes. Now what happens is we go back to the commodity market. R has gone up. So investment will decrease. You have the reverse multiplier effect.
Yes.
So your output falls from E prime to E2. Okay. So clear?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
first point that we want to make is that the increase in output is less than in the simple Keynesian model. The second important fact is if you look at the I plus G side, okay, what has happened to investment? I mean, compare between E1 and E2.
It has risen.
I has gone up.
Sir, fallen.
I has, look over here, I has fallen.
Oh, yes, sir.
And what has happened to G?
G has increased.
Yeah, I mean, that is what we are looking at. That
Given
is a parametric change. So what is happening is there's a substitution of I by G. Okay. To make it more clear, G replaces I. G goes, technically we call this government spending crowds out private investment. This is called the crowding out effect. Okay. Is it clear?
Sir, sir, but here the whole process is dynamic because once we reached Y2 dash, sir, now the interest rate will rise, but as the income is falling, again the transaction demand is falling, so the rate of increase of interest rate will start to fall. Means it is not
See,
a
I have
simple
discussed the process very just in one or two steps. Okay. What will happen is you will have a circular trend, just as in the cobweb model. But in the ISLM model, you're going to, if once you reach the intersection of the two curves, that means both the markets are in equilibrium. There's neither excess demand nor excess supply in both commodity market and money market. Did you understand what I said? Fine.
Yes, sir, I got.
So I'm simplifying. It's not really dynamic in that sense, but we are going to have a circular oscillatory, not oscillatory, sorry. There's going to be a series of movements step by step. So I'm going to move here, then I'm going to move to the LM curve, then back to the IS curve, like this. But it is going to be convergent. So that is why I discussed everything in a series of just in 2-3 steps. Actually, it takes more steps. Okay. So we have shown using the 4-quadrant diagram how as increase in government spending affects the ISLM market. We have shown that rate of interest goes up, income goes up. We have also shown, explained the mechanism. Then we have compared this with the Keynesian effect. The crowding out effect is very important. Now let us look into the two special cases. first let us look at the LM curve. The LM curve is like this, and then we have the negatively sloped part. Then we have the liquidity trap. Okay. So this is Y, this is R. Do you know how to make it dotted? How to make these lines dotted?
Sir, using the eraser and rubbing out a few
Oh God,
points.
not that.
So I think if you right click on the line, maybe it shows options. I think it does.
But which one? Solid color.
No, so like in the shapes dialog box.
No, it's just adding gallery. Anyway, I'm wasting time. Okay, so this is the IS curve and this is LM. So this is the classical portion. And this is the Keynesian part of the curve, liquidity trap. So this is, let's make this LM. So this is R. This is I1 is 1, Y1. Okay. Now, if you have an increase in government spending, the I curve will shift outwards. So, okay, so we can see over here, rate of interest is going up. Okay. So just comment on this. What happens over here? Once there's an increase in government spending, what happens?
The rate of interest increases and Y is unchanged.
না ঠিক আছে স্টেপ বাই স্টেপ বলো তোমার তো জাস্ট আইস কার্ভটা I1 থেকে I2 তে চলে গেল ঠিক আছে
Sir,
I curve
excess money demand will be there,
why excess না,
and because there can be only one equilibrium income in this classical case.
no you're back calculating, you're saying only one possible income. You have to show why there's one possible income. See, initially what happens is there's an expansion in when G goes up, let's work it out.
So there's an expansion in the fiscal policy.
Yeah. When G increases, it means aggregate commodity demand rises, right? So you have excess demand in commodity market and supply, which is basically Y, rises from Y1 to Y prime 2. Okay. So we move to a new IS curve. There's a shift of IS curve and we reach E prime 2 on the new IS curve, right? Achha. So if income has Y has gone up, you're going to have excess demand in money market via transactions demand, right? KPY or KY has gone up. So if there's excess demand in the money market, people will sell off their bonds and convert it to money. So the wealth is now held in the form of money. So if people start selling of bonds, price of bonds will fall or will rise, right? And ultimately what will happen is the money market equilibrium is attained. So you have equilibrium in the money market. Okay, now as R rises, what will happen to IR? What will happen to IR?
Fall. It
Fall.
will fall.
So Y will fall. Okay, so this part is what was occurring in the earlier case. If you look at this, you had the same mechanism. See, money market, income rises, transaction demand goes up, excess demand for money, rate of interest rises, investment falls, income falls, right?
Sir,
So this part,
sir,
yeah.
sir, but here in the classical case, the money demand is insensitive to the change in interest rate. So, why will people still try to convert it into money? Sir, unless Y changes, the money market will never reach its equilibrium, even if R changes.
No, see, what is happening over here is see, people want to see why has excess demand changed? Because of transactions demand. Okay. If your transactions demand goes up, you're going to have excess demand in the money market.
Yes, sir.
Achha, okay, fine. I get this, but it.
Sir, demand
Okay,
is horizontal.
okay. This part is wrong.
Vertical, sir.
Okay, yeah. So people will sell off the bonds and convert it to money. When the so if they start selling off the bonds, the price of bonds will fall. Okay,
Yes,
and
sir.
rate of interest will rise. Okay. If R rises, investment will fall and Y will fall. Okay, so what we have is how much will Y fall? See, your wealth has not gone up. Okay, what has happened is you have a certain amount of excess demand because Y has gone up, let us say from 1000 to 2000. Okay, as Owen rightly pointed out, your speculative demand cannot change. So when will the money market come back to equilibrium? When your transactions demand has fallen by exactly the same amount that it had increased. So if the increase in transaction demand is, let us say X, the decrease in transactions demand because Y is falling must also be exactly X. So your income has gone up by from Y1 to Y prime 2. Okay. So when will the money market be in equilibrium? When income falls from Y prime 2 to back to Y1. Money market is in equilibrium. Okay. We are moving along the IS curve. So commodity market also is in equilibrium. But the important thing to note is that the first round increase in Y is equal to second round increase in Y. So this is due to the money market effect R rises. Okay. And this was due to the commodity market effect as G had risen. In the earlier case, this was greater. This first round effect was greater. So the second round negative effect, sorry, this should be decrease. So the second round negative effect is less than this. The total effect is an increase in Y. Here, however, the first round and second round effect exactly balances each other. So there's no change in Y, which means fiscal policy is ineffective. Okay, did you get this? So what I'm basically saying is first round, you're having an increase in Y. Second round, there's a decrease in Y, which is over here. You can see it is much less. The decrease in Y is much less. So the final effect is income has gone up. Here, however, the first round and second round effect is exactly equal to each other. So what we have is, you can say you have full crowding out effect. The increase in G is balanced by fall in I. Okay, that is why there's no impact on income, only on rate of interest. In this case, however, what we see is there's a full impact of increase in G. Can you tell me what is the crowding out effect over here?
Zero.
is 0. I does not change as R is constant here. Well, I won't say R. R is same. There's no change in R, so I remains the same. So what happens is you simply have an increase in there's a commodity market effect. G increases, G rises. So effective aggregate demand rises. You have excess demand in goods market and Y rises. In the money market, transactions demand will rise. So you have excess demand for money. People start converting bonds to money. But since we are at a liquidity trap, there is no impact on price of bonds and on rate of interest, as we at R equal to R mean. Okay. So therefore, what happens is uh, your transaction demand goes up, let us say by 50 units. Speculative demand will automatically adjust. It will fall by 50 units without the need for rate of interest adjusting. Okay, so speculative demand will adjust without a change in R. So that means money market regains equilibrium. Okay, there's no second round effect on commodity market as R is same. There's no change in R. So that is why the crowding out effect is 0 and you experience a full impact. So over here at this point, fiscal policy is most effective. It is equal to the multiplier in simple Keynesian model. Okay, so I leave it to you as an exercise. Work out the comparative statics mathematically. So
স্যার এটা কোন বই থেকে পড়বো? ফ্রয়েন থেকে?
ফ্রয়েনে, হ্যাঁ ফ্রয়েন থেকে পড়ে নিতে পারো। ফোর কোয়াড্রেন্টটা তুমি ব্র্যানসনে পাবে। আর তবে ফ্রয়েনও পুরোটা ডিসকাস করেছে। এগুলো তোমার ফ্রয়েনে এই ডিসকাশন গুলো রয়েছে কিন্তু। আর so the mathematical part you should be able to do. You know what the equation is. It is এইটা তো, এটাকে তোমরা এইভাবে লিখে নেবে। কমোডিটি মানি মার্কেট হচ্ছে KY ঠিক আছে। এবার তুমি এটাকে লামসাম ট্যাক্স ধরে নেবে, করে তোমরা ওই ডিভাইডটা দেখবে। সো হোয়াট আই ওয়ান্ট ইউ টু ডিজি করবে। So what I want you to find out is dy dg is equal to what? dr dg, you have to show that both of them are positive. আর ওই স্পেশাল কেসগুলো তোমাকে বার করতে হবে, লিকুইডিটি ট্র্যাপ আর ক্লাসিক্যাল কেস। ঠিক আছে, এখানে ভ্যালুগুলো পার্টিকুলারলি dy বাই dg এইটা কি হচ্ছে in these two cases। ঠিক আছে, এগুলো তোমরা একটু ওয়ার্কআউট করো। আমি র্যান্ডম কাউকে বলবো একটু আমাকে পরের দিন বলতে। So any questions? Okay,
Sir,
then
when will you take the next class?
আচ্ছা, তোমাদের ওয়েডনেসডেতে কি অবস্থা বলো তো, এই 9:30?
Okay, sir.
Okay, আচ্ছা, MD will take the class from 11. Okay, we have a workshops, so she will start at 11 and she will finish by 12:30. Okay, then I'm stopping presentation.